Welcome to the Football Debates Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Debates. In this episode, we're going to look at what I call money-hungry NFL owners. These owners want to grow the game, and I'm all for that. I love the game of football like many fans do. But the NFL owners, they want to grow the game. But are they growing it for the right reasons? Are they growing the game because they love the game? Or are they growing the game because they see it as a business venture? They see it as an investment, and they simply want to grow their bottom line. And in a sense, they really don't care what happens to us, the fans, necessarily the players or the coaches, other people involved. They just want to make more money. So that's what we're going to look at in this video. Are there ways to grow the game that are beneficial to players, coaches, officials, fans, and owners? Or is this just a way for NFL owners to make more money and not be concerned about the fans at all? I think that there's an episode of Ted Lasso that every NFL owner should be forced to watch. Season 3, I believe episode 10, called International Break. And there's a scene in the episode where the owner of AFC Richmond is meeting with a bunch of the other owners of the major teams in Europe. And they're talking about forming a super league of soccer teams. And during the discussions, it's brought up that all the games will be a clash of titans, the best teams playing each other every game. Yes, the fans will have to pay more. Yes, the ticket prices will go up. But what effect will that have long term? Will the smaller teams be able to afford the best players? Or will they get lower quality players, lower quality product? Or will some of those smaller teams even cease to exist? And the owner of AFC Richmond in the episode, Rebecca Welton, played by actress Hannah Waddingham, delivers a speech. It's a great speech. It's very well written, and she delivers it wonderfully. And she asks the other owners, what are you doing? Don't you already have enough money? Why are you trying to damage this game and take it away from the fans? You all used to love this game, but what are you really doing now? And I think that's one thing that the NFL owners are kind of doing. I think some of the NFL owners did get into ownership with the idea that they loved the game and they loved their teams. But are more of them seeing this as a business venture? Are they seeing it as simply a way to make more money? And do they really need more money? These teams are now selling for billions of dollars. Are we looking at corporate sponsorships or teams owned by corporations as opposed to individual owners? So I think there's ways to grow the game that would still be beneficial to everyone involved. And one idea that I have is a developmental league. And I'll talk more about this in detail in a future episode. But I think if the NFL owners invested in a developmental league where players at the end of the roster, practice squad players, and undrafted college free agents could take part in a spring-summer league, be coached by NFL and college coaches, and be officiated by NFL and college officials. Have all of them working together to help the players become better players, the coaches become better coaches, and the officials become better officials, both at the college and NFL levels. And this is a way for the NFL to fill the downtime, the off season, with more football. Some of the players' names will be familiar if they're end of the roster players or good college players that for whatever reason didn't stick with an NFL team, a way for them to make a comeback. And while, yes, you might say, well, this is going on right now. There's the United Football League right now, and it's been done before with NFL Europe in the 90s and the USFL in the 80s and the World Football League in the 70s. But none of those other leagues had the backing of the NFL owners. The NFL owners have more than enough money. If they invested in this league to try and help make a better quality product for us as fans, I think we would even shell out more money to them to buy more jerseys and to attend the spring-summer games. Plus, if you're getting players coached up, making better quality players, better quality coaches, and better quality officials, in the fall, if you have issues like an official gets injured, they bring up a reserve official. That official might have a little bit more experience with this developmental league and would be a better quality official at the NFL level. So I think that's one way that the owners could grow the game and still make their money and benefit us. But I'm not sure the owners really want to do that. I'm not sure that they're really concerned about a better quality product or taking care of the players or being concerned about us fans. And one way you can see that is in the international games. The NFL now is playing games overseas. This coming year, the fall of 2026, I think there's 9 or 11 international games. There's one in Australia, one in Brazil, one in Mexico City, and multiple games in Europe. The NFL specifically moved the season to a 17-game season and are looking at an 18-game season potentially, and potentially a 20-game season to get more international games in. The NFL wants to have an international game nearly every week. Well, what's that do for us as fans? NFL teams have a home game. If we're paying for season tickets, we're already getting 3 not great preseason games where we don't see the stars anyway. Now we're potentially losing a home game to Berlin or London or Sydney, Australia, or wherever in Brazil or Mexico City. Well, yes, the teams have fans in these other countries. They're not the ones paying season ticket prices to go. So I think that the idea of an international concept is great and wonderful occasionally. But what is the NFL doing? Are they doing it to grow the game, or are they doing it to make more money? The NFL is now also backing flag football, which is coming in the 2028 Olympics. And I like the idea of international flag football leagues. It's something that would be easier to do than with all the equipment of the NFL in countries that can't afford that. But are the NFL owners doing it to grow the game, or are they backing this to make more money? So that international intrigue is kind of interesting to me, because is it really for the love of the game or for the love of money? And if we are NFL fans and our team is playing in London or Berlin or wherever, well, we obviously can't go to the game unless we spend thousands of dollars on tickets to the game, tickets on flights, tickets on hotels. So we can watch the game through streaming services, another way that the NFL owners are making money. It used to be, when I was growing up in the 80s, NBC and CBS had games on at noon, and then they had games on at 3:15. And then you had Monday Night Football on ABC, all free, all over the air. And you used to have NBC and CBS each had a game at noon, and each had a game at 3:15 every week. It wasn't an alternate where the second window game or the 3:25 game is one game on one network nationally. And right now, if you get 2 games at noon, you only get 1 game at 3:25. Sometimes if you're in a team's market, you don't get a game at noon or 1 o'clock. You don't get an early window game. You only get the second window game and then the Sunday night game. So the NFL is, in a sense, taking away games from us free over the air, and they're making us go to streaming services. Netflix now. Well, if you want to watch the game this Christmas, you have to have Netflix. So if your team is playing, you don't get to watch it. Amazon Prime. That's the only way to watch the Thursday night games. And you have the Red Zone channel, which they always promote as being commercial free, but more and more fans are getting upset with the amount that it's costing and the quality of the programming that you get with NFL Red Zone Network. I've never watched it, so it doesn't matter to me, but for the fans that do watch it, they're not happy about it. And it just seems that the price keeps going up, and this seems like another way that the owners are trying to make more and more money off us, the fans, because apparently we're not buying enough tickets for all these games at high enough prices, so they got to make some additional money other ways. And paying premium for holiday games like Christmas games and Thanksgiving games and all these other games, I think that's detracting from the quality of the game itself. There's a quote that I like that I think plays into the owner's mentality. It's, "Egotism is the anesthetic that dulls the pain of stupidity." It's by former Notre Dame coach Frank Leahy. I like that quote because to me, it kind of sums up the NFL owners right now. They all think they're rich and entitled. And I think they're getting stupid with the NFL. And one way I think that they're getting stupid is stadiums. Teams are constantly upgrading their stadiums. It seems like every year a baseball team, a basketball team, but especially football teams are looking at building a new stadium. And these stadiums are coming with newer and newer amenities. Wi-Fi, so that way it's easier to watch the game on your phone while you're sitting at the stadium, or it's easier to place a bet while you're sitting at the stadium. And a lot of these owners are saying, yes, well, I'm not rich enough to have this stadium built, so I need public tax dollars because it's going to benefit the community. But how many events are really going on at these stadiums outside the NFL games? You may have some teams play soccer there. You may have some concerts for big name people like a Taylor Swift or whatever artist. And those tickets are going to be expensive. Some states are passing on these taxes in the forms of gas taxes or hotel taxes, so that if you stay in these states, well, you're going to pay an additional tax to help fund a stadium that you may never set foot in. So I think these owners are going a bit crazy with all of these stadium changes and improving these stadiums. And yes, we need to have great stadiums. Yes, they're going to cost money. But why do we, the fans, have to pay for it if we're already paying for the season tickets and the streaming services and everything else that we're paying for? These owners have hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars. If they want to see it as an investment, make it an investment in the community and don't make us pay for it. So the stadium issue is a thing with me because I haven't been to an NFL game since the late 80s. I don't see a lot of people that can afford to go to multiple NFL games in a single year. So what benefit is it for me to pay a gas tax to help build a stadium or a sales tax to help build a stadium? And when they do build these stadiums, well, what are they doing with them? Now they're having more and more turf stadiums. The World Cup is coming to the USA, Canada, and Mexico here in the summer of 2026. Well, some of these NFL stadiums are being used for these soccer venues for the World Cup. And the World Cup organization, FIFA, has demanded that they have to have certain surfaces, a certain type of grass surface. So several of these teams that are hosting these World Cup events have to put in a new grass surface. But are they doing it just for soccer, or are they going to maintain it once the NFL starts back up in these stadiums? Some of these surfaces are going to be laid over the turf surfaces that are in some of these NFL stadiums. So are they really benefiting the players? Owners keep talking about player safety. Well, players are playing on these hard turf surfaces. Some of the older AstroTurf surfaces are like playing on concrete. And imagine getting driven into the ground by a 300-pound lineman onto a hard concrete surface. Owners keep talking about player safety, player safety. But are they taking care of the stadiums? And are they taking care of them in a way that enhances player safety? Owners are talking about player safety, but they keep expanding the season. They keep adding games. They keep adding ways for players to get hurt. And they haven't added to the rosters. Right now, in an NFL game, you can dress 45 players for a game. NFL rosters are 53. You have to have so many players inactive for every game. Why? Well, originally, partly it was a way for the NFL to say, well, we don't want this player put on injured reserve. So this is a way he can sit out a game, not dress, but the team doesn't have to put him on injured reserve. Well, why can't the team just not play him? One of the reasons for having the inactive list was actually to help gamblers know who's playing and who's not, to help with their betting. Why doesn't the NFL allow all 53 players to dress for a game and play? That way, your big name superstars, not necessarily the quarterbacks, but the star wide receivers, the star defensive backs, the star linebackers, right now they have to play on special teams because there's only so many bodies on an NFL roster. If you have these other 8 players, that's snaps that they can take away from your star players where they potentially could get hurt. Rob Gronkowski, playing for the Patriots, potential Hall of Famer. He missed part of the season because he got a broken arm on an extra point. There was no malicious hit. He just got hit in just the right angle, just the right spot. His arm was bent the right way, and he got a broken arm. Why would you risk a potential Hall of Fame player that was essential to their offense as he was on a field goal or extra point if you don't have to? Plus, if you give some of these end-of-the-roster players a chance to make a play on special teams, they may surprise you. Hall of Fame running back Terrell Davis made his name in Denver in a preseason game in Tokyo, covering a kickoff. He absolutely blew up the return man. And it was one of the best hits of that entire season for the Broncos. And it got him noticed by the coaching staff. He had almost quit football while in Japan. He actually checked out a way to get home, skipping that preseason game because he was having a bad week of practice. He was doing terrible with all the preseason practices, and he didn't think he was going to make the team. But that hit got him the attention of the coaches. Eventually worked his way into the running back lineup, eventually became a starter, and the rest is history. So let's give these end of the roster players a chance and protect the star players that the NFL invests so much money in. Well, let's protect those guys by allowing more players to play. Maybe they even need to expand the roster from 53 to 60 players, giving more end of the roster players a chance to play. Or if the NFL is going to keep inactive players, expand it to 60, but allow 53 players to play every week and have 7 players inactive for quote unquote safety reasons. So if the NFL is really concerned about growing the game and taking care of the players, let's do something to actually take care of the players. Let's not just ignore them altogether. Another issue that players have with player safety is the number of games. The NFL keeps expanding. They're talking about 18 games, potentially 20 games. You get more international games because the NFL is already talking about potentially having a Super Bowl game overseas. I think right now the popular choice would be London. But that's why the NFL wants to have all these international games, is to grow that international market. But what's that doing to the players' bodies? Defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks have a great schedule this year. They play on 6 different days of the week. The only day of the week they don't play on is a Tuesday. In fact, at the end of the year, they play a Sunday, a Monday, a Sunday, a Saturday, a Friday, a Sunday, and potentially another Saturday. The end of their season, they basically have 6 days of rest between each game, as opposed to the full week that every other team is getting. And they're playing every day of the week. Their first game is on a Thursday. They play on a Wednesday night for one of the holiday games, I believe. Is that really what you want to do to the defending Super Bowl champions? And if the NFL is really concerned about player safety, why don't they allow the players to get into a routine? Having them play on a different day of the week, and with the Seahawks, all those games are at the end of the season. Their last 7 games, right now, they only play 3 on Sundays. One of the last games is a to-be-determined game that could end up being on another Saturday following a Sunday game, another 6-day week. So if the NFL is concerned about player safety, why are they potentially exposing players to more injuries by giving them less recovery time from the previous week's games? So let's take care of the players if you want to, NFL. If you want to invest in their futures and invest in your product, let's give the players time to recover. The NFL players do, in a way, have a little bit of a way of fighting back, not just through playing or their contracts or things like that. The NFL Players Association every year for a while now has done a survey grading teams and grading the coaching staff, grading the medical staff, grading the cafeteria, grading how families are treated on game days, talking about things in the off season. And it's a Players Association report card that the NFL Players Association has released. Now, this past year, some of the NFL owners have sued to not allow that to be released anymore because it puts them in a bad light. Well, yeah, these rich owners are not investing in their clubs. Several of these teams are getting low grades year in and year out. Grades go all the way down to F-. Even some of the better teams have failing grades. For example, the Kansas City Chiefs, for the last several years, have gotten Ds and Fs for their medical staff and training room areas. Several teams have gotten Ds and Fs for how they treat families. That can affect players. That can put them in a different mindset than what they need to be on game days. And if you have a player in free agency, are they likely to be re-signing with the team that they're playing for if their family isn't being treated well, or if they don't think that they're being treated well? No, they're going to look at another team. They're going to talk to guys that they played college football with, guys that they previously played with that are now on other teams. Hey, what's the situation like in Detroit? What's the situation like in Denver? What's the situation like in Dallas? Are these places where I want to go play and win? Are they going to take care of my family? Are they going to take care of things that I don't have to worry about? If you look at the 2024 survey, the teams that finished at the bottom of that survey were the Jets, Panthers, the Browns, and the Cardinals. How did those teams do during the 2024 season? They were at the bottom of the league. Washington for years was at the very bottom of this survey under a previous owner, Daniel Snyder. Players left. He always spent money on big name free agents, but the atmosphere in the building was considered toxic by many former employees. And I'm not talking about just players, former staffers, secretaries, medical personnel, equipment people. They didn't like necessarily being around the facility if they didn't have to. They got a new ownership, new attitude, new culture, and they had new results. They made it to the NFC Championship game in 2024. Last year in 2025, they took a step back, but that was more because of injuries than anything else and a tougher schedule. I think Washington is still going in the right direction now that they have new ownership and a new attitude. And some of these owners are taking that NFL Players Report card seriously. The new owner of the Commanders did. Several of these teams have taken it very seriously. Minnesota is one team that one of the lowest grades they got for a long time was the locker room. So when they built the new stadium, they did significant upgrades to the locker room. Several teams look at how families are treated and are trying to make it a better experience for the wives, girlfriends, and family members of players, so that way they can watch the game, and they, in a sense, have a daycare in the stadium during games, so family members can watch the game and somebody can watch their kids for them, just for the 3 hours during the game. But a lot of the owners didn't like that. They don't like getting bad news. They don't like looking bad. Well, that's maybe because they have to invest money for these upgrades to make their team a better quality team, get better players, and a better quality destination in the off season. So is that something that the owners are willing to do to grow the game? Or are they not willing to do it because they're more concerned about their bottom line than necessarily what's best for the game, their players, their coaches, and their fans? So that's just some of the ideas that I had as far as regarding the money-hungry owners and some of my complaints about it, but also some of the things that I think they can do to enhance the game and make the game better. Don't forget to keep an eye open for the Developmental Football League podcast coming up soon. This has been the Football Debates Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Debates. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you on our next episode.